I've been shooting at a private range for about the past decade that some friends and I built. Well, if you saw my video a couple of videos ago about losing my range, we'll just say I'm not shooting there anymore. So I'm back at my old public range that it's a good range. I just hadn't shot there in a long time. Well, I went there the other evening to start my load testing, and it quickly became apparent that my old range bag just isn't working now. I got to make some changes. So I thought it'd be fun just to, hey, go through the range bag and show y'all what I got and why and all that good stuff. And since I'm already swapping things up anyway, and I'll explain, changes I'm making, I just thought some of y'all might enjoy that. So let's see what's in the bag. Oh, keep in mind, I'm in the middle of load testing right now. I do reloading, and I'm load testing for 3 rifles. And we'll just say I got a lot of stuff right now. I'm not saying you need this much stuff. I'm just showing you what I got and where I'm at right now. All right, so let's see what's in the bag. The first thing is this PAST Recoil reduction pad. And I've had this for a lot of years, and I'm here to tell you, it's nice. I mean, don't get me wrong, a heavy recoiling rifle is still a heavy recoiling rifle, but this helps, especially when you get into the older rifles with steel butt plates and, brass butt plates. This really helps with those, especially right now. It's summertime, and, we're in the South here. I know you couldn't tell by my accent, but it's pretty warm here, so I'm usually wearing a light shirt. You start putting those steel butt plates against your shoulder, after enough rounds, you're feeling it, even on the lighter recoiling cartridges, much less the heavier ones. So this has really been nice, and this one's lasted forever. I don't ever see me not having one, let's put it that way. And all it does is just goes on your shoulder, and it's got a strap that wraps around and holds it in place. It's not a must-have, but it's a really nice little creature of comfort to have out there. Next will be ammo. Right, and I've got a few rounds in here. I'm load testing 3 rifles and 2 powders in each rifle. I got a lot of cartridges here. Matter of fact, this is 60 cartridges that I've got to check out. So yeah, I'm doing a little shooting right now. Next, all right, I've got some bags here. And for a while, I was just using these 2 bags there. I don't even remember who made it, Winchester. All right, and these worked out pretty good. I had a little board somewhere around here that I would set up on the rear bag. Just seemed like every time I shot, I needed about an inch higher on the rear bag. Well, I quit carrying it, and what I've done, I've gone to using this rock by Caldwell. And I really like this. I mean, this is pretty nice. It's a rock, all right. It feels like one when you're carrying it, but it is nice once you get it on the bench and set up. And I've been using these as my rear bags for it. Well, I've been having to play around to get my height just right on the rear bag, because this sits the rifle up a lot higher than what I'm used to, especially when I'm shooting off these or shooting off a bipod. So another bag I've added is this Caldwell spacer bag. And what I'm doing right now is just using the spacer and setting the rear bag on it, and that seems to be about the right height. And once I figure out exactly what height I need, I'll probably get a pretty nice 1-piece bag for the rear. You know how that is, just trial and error and figuring it out. But right now, this is working pretty good with that rock. One thing I can say, with the rock, setting your rifle up higher, if you're bench seats are real low. Just gonna put the rifle up high, and that's something I ran into at my last range, and I was getting ready to fix a few things just to get my chair up higher when I swap ranges. Well, the seats are real low at the range I'm at now too, so I'm probably gonna carry some kind of cushion or something with me just to get me up an extra inch or two, something to sit on. Probably a piece of 2x10 and a cushion, but that'll give me 2 inches there. So just, you know, trying to get my height right, gun set right. And that's something about, you know, if you're shooting at the same range all the time, there is a benefit to that, in that you can get your setup tweaked just right. When you're shooting at different ranges, and a lot of you've already figured this out, when you're shooting at different ranges, you need to be prepared to, you know, make some kind of height adjustment. So that's why I'm still carrying both these bags. One's higher than the other. And, you know, as I'm tweaking it, figuring out exactly which bag to use along with the spacer. All right, let's see what else we've got here. All right, side pocket. Clothes hangers. And these come in really handy for hanging your targets. Some ranges have them. There's another public range that I go to on occasion, is further away, but it's a really nice range, and they've got clothes hangers and everything else to hang your targets. But the closest range to me, it doesn't have all that. Matter of fact, it doesn't even have anything to hang your targets on. I have to carry my own target hanger, which reminds me, I got to do some work to it too. I hadn't used it in a long time since I shot at this particular public range, and it's in need of repair. Let's see what else we got here. Stapler. The stapler's really nice. At the range I'd been shooting at, my buddy Joey, he had just set up a piece of plywood and had it attached to some 4x4 posts in the ground. So we could just take our targets, staple them to the plywood we're shooting. Well, I'm not shooting there now, so I guess I can go on and take this out of the bag, because well, maybe I need to leave it in the bag. I was just remembering I used this to repair my target stand last time I was at the range, so I guess it's still coming in handy. Yeah, we'll leave the stapler. All right, little sticky dots. This is nice just because you know, if you forget your targets or something, you can always find a piece of paper, put one of these bright dots on it, and you got a bullseye to shoot at. And these are also useful for covering up bullet holes on a target. You know, if you're not wanting to change targets or running low or whatever, put these over the old bullet holes, and you know, that way you don't start getting mixed up on what shot was which. And this come in pretty handy more than once. Safety glasses. I don't normally shoot with safety glasses, but if I'm shooting a load I'm a little, you know, I won't say worried about, but I'm just being a little more cautious than normal. Or if I'm shooting an older rifle, you know, or just anything that just for whatever reason I'm wanting to be a little more cautious than normal, I leave the safety glasses in there, and I will use them. These aren't going to save you if your rifle blows up, but you know, so you need to be really careful, you know, as far as knowing the condition of the rifle you're shooting and really checking it out and all that good stuff. But it could save you an eye. Let's see, we've got some ammo left over in here from the previous trip. Staples. Duct tape. I don't even have to say anything, do I? I mean, let's face it, there isn't much you can't fix out at the range in a pinch with duct tape, especially when it comes to hanging paper. You know, You can tear off a square, put it on a piece of paper. There's your bullseye. Tear off a square, put it on a piece of paper, and shoot at the corner or corners of the square. That way you've got a really precise spot to shoot at. That's, man, duct tape. Let's see it in here. Let's see what else we have. Okay, this is a Gunmaster. It's a set of bits, and this thing has really come in handy. I mean, I can't begin to say how handy this has been. Just, you know, screwdriver bits, torque bits, Allen bits, Phillips, straight head, and the straight heads are all hollow ground. How much you want to carry to the range, you know, or how much I carry to the range, it just depends on what I'm doing. But the rifles I'm carrying now that I'm load testing for, I just, you know, put on some scopes, you know, made changes to them. It can be nice to have something like this if you get loose rings or bases or something while you're at the range. You don't know what you'll run into, and this can come in handy. It can keep you from cutting a range trip short. And you know, if I'm making a long trip to a range, I'm going to carry everything but the kitchen sink just in case I run into some kind of problem. Which if I mounted the scope properly to start with, I won't need this for a scope while I'm there. But you know, that doesn't mean my friends mounted theirs properly, or that I didn't make some kind of mistake, or just, well, you never know. It's come in handy more than once, let's put it that way. And usually I leave it at the house, but if I'm doing some serious shooting, I'll just go ahead and throw this in the bag. And I've got another driver here that I keep some bits for, different screw bits and stuff. And what I do is, I've got a few, or at least I thought I had a few socket ends, small sockets. That's come in surprisingly handy, I don't know how many times, just for tightening up bolts on the benches and things like that. A lot of benches have bolts in them, and you get a loose board or something there that's really aggravating. You know, it surprised me how many times I've used this. So this is a really cheap one, and I just leave it in the bag all the time. And then this one, I only carry it when I'm just doing some, you know, a lot of shooting and just want to make sure I don't have any issues when I'm trying to get something done. Earplugs. Okay, a lot of you like the ear muffs, and that's fine. It's, you know, up to the individual, which I'll be honest, when I was young, we didn't use either. We just went to the range and shooting, and as a result, I'm deaf at one particular frequency right now. At every other frequency I can hear fine, but at one particular frequency, and that's particular frequency is just about the same pitch as a 22. So hearing protection is important, which most of you know that now. We just didn't know back in the day. And I always carry some extra earplugs just in case. And I think that's about it for the range bag. And this old range bag here, it's a big backpack's what it is. I'm definitely keeping this. I've had this for a lot of years, and it's really nice to shoot off of. And when I'm not just all out load testing, it's probably what I'm going to carry. I mean, you can shoot off of it. You don't have to carry a bag if you've got this and not a whole lot of stuff. Throw a coat in here, and that's a great bag to shoot off of. This is something you can shoot off of in the field. And you can see I've had a lot of stuff in it. So it holds a lot, and it's heavy duty, and this has been a great bag. I don't know who made it. I can't even tell you where I got it from. I've had it so long I just don't remember, but I'll definitely be keeping it. And an old trusty notebook here. I keep all my notes on my loads. All right, so when I'm shooting, I'm recording velocity, and I'm recording my group sizes with different loads, and I keep a scale in here. All right, it's a ruler, but we'll call it a scale. I used to be a machinist, and y'all machinists out there will understand. All right, I keep this for measuring my shot groups. Now, if I'm really being precise, I'll carry the calipers, but for what I'm doing, I can get plenty close enough with this. And you know, if I'm within a 1/16 of an inch, you know, that's fine for what I'm doing. I'm not doing competition or anything. And I keep tabs in here with all my information for different rifles. That way I can record everything for the particular rifle and load I'm trying at the time. And like I said, I can do the velocity, and for standard deviation, I calculate that the old-fashioned way on Excel. I've got a chronograph, which I also carry when I'm load testing. When I'm doing my serious load testing, I carry the chronograph, and it's Caldwell, and it's got an app that you can plug into your smartphone, and it'll keep track of your shots and calculate everything, except for it never has worked right on my phone. I've got an Android phone. I don't know what the deal is, but now my buddy Joe, it works great on his iPhone. So just throwing that out there for any of you that are thinking about getting one of these. Just be prepared to record your data. And if you record your velocities, as long as you've kept track of them, you can just put it in Excel, and it'll calculate standard deviation of your velocity, just, you know, if you want that information. And that's really good information to have when you're load developing or trying different factory loads. And just to throw this out real quick for those of you that don't know, when you get a load, your standard deviation is how much variation you get in velocity. If you're generally, and this is not 100% by any means, but generally, your most accurate load is going to have the smallest variation in velocity. In other words, all of the shots are going to be just about the same velocity. Your least accurate loads generally have a lot of variation in velocity. And that's getting into a lot of stuff on rifles that truthfully I don't think anybody fully understands. We can all throw our opinion out there about it, but I think it's basically getting into the harmonics and everything else of the rifle. But when you get a load that just really shoots in your rifle, usually the variation in your velocity, the standard deviation, is going to be really low. And that's the load that usually, you know, you're just putting bullet hole in bullet hole with. And if you're doing the long range precision stuff, and most of you guys that are into that already know about, you know, velocity, but a really large variation of velocity can really affect your point of impact way out there. You know, if you're talking, you know, 800 yards, you've got one bullet shooting 30 feet per second faster than the last bullet. That's going to change your elevation, your point of impact. So like I said, when you get that load that's just bullet hole for bullet hole, usually, not always, but usually, that change in velocity is very little, and then that's when you get really good accuracy at extreme long distances also. For hunting, it's not an issue. I mean, for normal hunting, normal conditions out, 300 yards, I just enjoy tracking all that and see how it plays out as far as my loads and stuff. It's really neat when you've got a load that all of a sudden it starts shooting, I mean really shooting. And then you look at those velocities and your standard deviation just went from 20 to 7. It's just really neat. And of course, trusty pencil, Sharpie. I mean, you gotta have a Sharpie. And I usually keep a pen in here, but I don't see it right now. More earplugs. And I think that, no, that did not about cover it for what I carried to the range. Cleaning rod. Okay, I reload, my buddies reload. When you're reloading, just about the time you think you know what you're doing, you'll find out you don't. And if you didn't form your brass just right, you can get a case stuck in your chamber, or get one that doesn't want a chamber. All right, so this comes in really handy for getting a case out, you know, that's wanting to stick. And you never know what you're going to run into at the range. A friend of mine, he had a squib one time. And this is something that all of you need to be aware of. A squib is a bullet that doesn't have powder in it. All right, it's got the primer, it's got the bullet, you know, it looks like a normal bullet, but there's no powder. So when you chamber it and you shoot, there's actually enough pressure in the primer to drive that bullet into your barrel, but not enough pressure for it to clear the barrel. All right, we'll just say those are really, 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 really dangerous. All right, and you can imagine you've got a bullet stuck in your barrel. All right, what happens when you fire the next bullet? It's not good. Well, a friend of mine had a squib one time, and fortunately, you know, grace of God, he caught it. And that's where the cleaning rod come in. We got the bullet out of his barrel, and he was able to keep shooting after we got all that taken care of. But squib, a lot of you, if you're not familiar with it, you need to go look those up, especially, you know, with your semi-autos and ARs and stuff. Just, you really need to go look that up. With the bolt action, it's a lot easier to realize something didn't feel right on that last cartridge, because it's not going to have the recoil of a normal cartridge. And with the bolt action, you can really easily just pull your bolt out, look down the barrel. Okay, I see daylight, we're clear. It's not so easy with an AR or a semi-auto. So, you know, just, if you don't know about squibs, look it up, and just always keep that in the back of your mind. You'll probably never see one, but you might. So, anyway, cleaning rod has come in handy many a times. I think that's about it as far as what all I carry. Of course, I carry targets. And I've always liked the red targets here. There's 5 different bullseyes with one big one in the middle, and just, I don't know, these are just always fun to shoot at. So, old red field targets. So that's generally what I carry and have for a long time. I might try other things, but these are by far my favorite. I carry these as well. And the last trip, like I mentioned, I had 3 rifles. As you can imagine, I had a lot of stuff to carry down to the range. And the parking lot's not near as close as I'd have liked for it to be. If I'd have had anything else, I might have needed a U-Haul, or at least it felt like that. And when I left, it was pitch black when I left. Matter of fact, my chronograph had already quit working, because it uses light. That's how most chronographs function, is light. And when the bullet breaks the light, sensors pick that up, and that's how it calculates the speed of the bullet. Well, it's so dark, you know, it wasn't working. And I had a lot of stuff towed out of there in the dark. So, again, it's time for me to make some changes. And what I'm going to now, I'm going to arrange cart. A really good friend of mine gave me this a couple of weeks before I had all the issues at my old range. And it's just funny how things work out. And I mentioned in that video on my range about how, you know, just do right by people and good things just come back to you. Well, this is just a perfect example of that. I had no idea that I was gonna, be swapping ranges, and a buddy of mine just, hey, I ran across this, you want it? I didn't know what I was gonna do with it, but sure. Well, now I know what I'm gonna do with it. This should make carrying all of this stuff from the parking lot to the benches a lot easier and a lot quicker, and I won't have to make 4 trips toting stuff back and forth. So, and this is a Creedmoor range cart. It's actually a stove bolted to a cart. I'd never even heard of it till my buddy gave me this one, and like I say, he got it for free. Gave it to me for free. I'm looking forward to trying it out and using it. I've got a few little modifications to make. I'm gonna set it up so that I can strap my gun case here, make carrying my rifles out in and out with everything else a lot easier and quicker, and probably put a little board across the top here to where I can stack things on, like the rock here and my notebook and stuff. But anyway, this is what I'm going to, and hopefully it'll make that a lot easier. And I'll let y'all know later on how this works out or didn't. And hey, we'll try it. All right, I think that covered it for what I'm doing, and I'm fixing to get busy and pack this up. So if you carry anything that maybe I should be, comment below. Let me know. What are you carrying in your bag? What do you think I could do different to simplify what I'm doing? And or did you learn anything from any of this? I'm just curious to know. All right, I think that about covered it for range bags tonight. So God bless and have a good evening.